wonderful people have joined on Substack. We are talking about redefining community after deconstruction. I'm Allison Rose.
And I'm Kate Johnson.
And we've done one other of these, and it was so amazing that we're really looking forward to getting into a conversation with a little bit of background. Hopefully you can ask some of your questions, and then hopefully you'll get some ideas if this is an area that you've been considering and wondering about. If nothing else, I hope you walk away with like, oh my gosh, I've never thought of that, and I'm gonna go try that. So anything else you want to say, Kate, before we
let's dive right in.
Okay, cool. So I kind of wanted to start by framing this in a really meta way with the fact that our society has like the most overconnected yet loneliest kind of society going on in history. We have too many connections, and yet none of them are very deep. And so I think this has created such a sucking hole for so many people of need that the church is a very attractive solution. And the church positions itself as the end all, be all, one-stop shop. Come here, get your personal development, get your spiritual development, get your mentorship. Honestly, join the sports team, join the art team, join any interest you have, wrap it up in the church, find the love of your life. It is positioned as like the only place you'll ever need. And so a lot of us tend to think of church that way. How did you see it? Because you grew up in church, so you didn't ever really come from the outside. You were the pastor's daughter.
I thought church was the world, honestly. Like, there was one path forward. Like, you were either in church or you were out on the street doing drugs. Like, there was no in between. Everyone outside the church were just lost souls. I'm curious about people in the chat. Like, as we're talking about this, like, did any of you guys do like choir, upward basketball, like Awana, like put whatever you were involved in the chat in there?
Yes.
But while people are doing that, like mine was very similar. I'm a pastor's daughter, so it was basically the world that I was brought into, where literally from like a young age, my dad was a youth pastor, so I was just surrounded by like, I was going on like the youth group retreats before, before I could read. So like always being surrounded by folks, always being surrounded by like the skits, the youth group culture, the all that sort of stuff. So it was it, and basically we were at the church. Like my mom was always helping out with stuff. Like we go to church on Sundays, we'd have our play group, like everything was within the church sphere.
Yeah. I see Jacob Gooden said, didn't wanna all the way through, leader in high school. Yep. So many of us. I was a worship leader starting at like 14. So I was really involved with that.
Cool.
And we were of the very charismatic type. So I went to multiple charismatic churches, but it was so much the like, you really should not have any interests outside of the church. It's just a distraction. It's just going to take your eyes off the goal or whatever. And like, why would you even fraternize with someone unless you're evangelizing them or arguing with them, like doing apologetics? So that was kind of like my viewpoint. And it felt like kind of what you said too, like dangerous to be talking to anyone outside the church. They're going to influence you. They're going to pull you away. They're going to whatever. So I was always like really concerned about that. Okay. I'm seeing a comment here on Instagram. Young adult ministry and running the bookstore at an Orthodox church from many more or less. I want to make sure I said that. Oh, that's clever. Many more or less. Like it. I like it. And then what do we have over here on Substack? You see this. Oh, I grew up in a fundamentalist homeschool. My notes are being covered. Oh, homeschool and Christian schools. Actually, same. I changed schools a million times, but I kind of did every single version of church, school, everything, homeschool. What about you?
Yeah, I was in a Christian co-op called Classical Conversations, which was like not part of my church, but it always met in a church. If there's any Classical Conversations folks, go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm curious. We can all reconvene.
Commiserate.
sympathize with each other. No, I enjoyed classical conversations while I was in it. It was a great way to meet kids. Like, always took place at a church. I was always surrounded by a lot of homeschoolers, and I feel like homeschooling was really how like you stayed involved with the church. Like you had all the homeschool kids in the church, and then like you all had your homeschool group together, or you all went to like homeschool events or field trips together. So there was definitely something in that as well.
Yes.
I'm curious if any folks have done choir. Because choir was definitely a big thing that I was involved in.
Yeah.
And that was also like, it was just part of the church culture. Like everyone was excited for like when you got to like, I don't know, like I think it started in like maybe first grade. Our choir is like once you got to first grade, you got to be in like the church play at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I remember like one of the church play songs was like, one of the lines of the song was spend time with Christian friends, and they changed it so that like you would feel okay spending time with non-Christian friends, but like that was the original line of the song.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's just this microcosm where it starts to take over every single part of your life. When I was in middle school, I was up to like 5 to 6 days a week. I was doing something at a church because I was so obsessed. One church wasn't even enough. So I'd be doing stuff with other churches. I'd be doing other conferences. For the charismatics, it's very much like the conferences are the thing. You're always getting ready for a conference. You're leading worship for a conference. You're attending a conference. It was all about like, who's the Bethel speaker that's coming this week? Who's coming from, IHOP or whatever. And it just took up all of your time. Anytime that you would be going to do something else, honestly, even homework, I would be conferencing. It was a crazy, crazy like subculture.
Yeah. I'm curious if anyone has also done Christian theater. We had a big Christian theater group, and I think I only went to one camp, but we had several people in our homeschool group who were involved with the Christian theater. And basically they take like different stories. Like I think they did like a Martin Luther one, but another one was like it was called Through the Looking Glass. And it was like Alice in Wonderland theme. So probably anything in like the Creative Commons. And then they'd make a Christian version of like Alice in Wonderland. But yeah, there are some theater troupes as well that folks were involved in.
That's so Christian to take something and just make a worse version of it.
They were great actors. Like I was very impressed.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we all had a good program. We had ridiculous ones.
Yeah, it wasn't our program, but
okay.
Oh, Jacob, you were a Christian mime. We had a mime ministry at our church.
I know several people who did that.
Yeah. So I have a funny story. So my sister and I, when we were real little, we were probably like 4 and 2. We had this mime ministry at our Presbyterian church. And my sister and I were just like fascinated because like Presbyterians were pretty boring. Like we're called the Frozen Chosen. So like the mime ministry, when the mime ministry came up stage, that was like, oh my gosh, the circus is in town. So like I remember like my sister and I like we'd like do the box with our hands and like try to do skits and that sort of thing and like imitate the mimes. They were like our heroes.
I love how you're coming from the Presbyterian background and I'm coming from a charismatic background, and they're like almost like mortal enemies.
Yeah.
They're like, so opposite.
But opposites in some ways.
Like, okay, so over here on Instagram, I'm seeing Lewis Rowe. He had put several comments. One interesting thing he said was homeschooling is not super common in the UK, even for Christians. So like can't relate there, I guess. But also he said the charismatics love turning everything into a concert. And that is so true. It doesn't matter what it is. They are going to put lights, smoke. They're going to put a background. They're going to hire the entire audio visual team. Anyways, we're kind of like getting into the weeds with this, but
yeah, when I was a Presbyterian, if we did anything with the audio visual team, it was like, oh my gosh, like you're that is heretical. Like you should not be taking away attention from God.
There's kind of 2 different parts to this. It's like the whole point is like to bring everything and keep everything in the church, all the community, all the connections. And so there's 2 ways to go about that. One of them is to go use all of the tools that are in the world and make them church tools. That's more the charismatic way. And then
Yeah.
some of the other more traditional denominations might have gone the route of like just avoid certain things. And then keep you in the church, very much like not of this world or whatever. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sticker. I had that so much. So it's really interesting because churches position themselves as a solution. They're like, we have built-in community. They make it super easy for you to join. And the whole thing that you always hear is like, oh my gosh, I just found people who have similar values. I found people, it's just easy to be with them. I don't have to explain my beliefs. They do have predictable meeting times. So like they're showing up at certain times at a certain place, when you can go see people. And unfortunately, very quickly, most of your friends and connections end up being in that one place. So there's like structure that a lot of people, it can be really like useful. I'm going to be honest, even for like a neurodivergent brain, probably to latch onto the structure because it just feels safe. It's predictable. And so many of us, it felt like that. But the problem is it's just built on conformity. Like there's no way around that. It's built on, for the most part, wanting people to be the same. And I put this in my notes here. According to a lot of my commenters, this may or may not apply to a lot of like Unitarian, Methodist, Lutheran, potentially other denominations that I don't have any experience with. So I'm not trying to make generalizations for the ones that I don't understand at all. And it's probably not all of them. There are 40,000 denominations. I'm mostly just speaking to 45,000. There you go. I'm just speaking to the ones that I know about. And I'm from Texas. So Bible Belt. So non-denoms, mega churches, charismatic Pentecostal. And then we've got like all the Methodist and Presbyterian, Presbyterian churches, several other denominations where people, they really, Baptist, and they really wanted people to do what they're doing. And every little church had their little rules. So what was your experience in your church? Did you guys have like some things that were frowned upon that if someone talked about engaging with, or I'm just curious, like what were y'all's things that were frowned upon, like alcohol, dancing, music, whatever?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like Presbyterians, they aren't like the normal, like I feel like there is in our particular church, there's probably some frowning upon like heavy alcohol drinking. Like a lot of the people, like especially the pastors at my church, like didn't drink at all. That was just the culture at that time. But it's not like you can never drink. It wasn't like you're a Baptist, like you can't drink at all. And I know that there are Baptists that do drink, but it's just like more prohibitive. I would say the main thing with Presbyterians, particularly in my denomination, is that they're pretty like academic and grounded and a lot of their theology kind of stuff. So there's not, but I would say the things that I probably found the most that were like the bad things was like anything that could be seen as like, and given that satanic panic was also going on at the time, like things like Pokemon, like, like that sort of thing, like anything that could be seen as like not giving like full glory to God in this situation. Like I remember, and this is my parents were telling me about like in their ministry, like it was probably like the 80s, 90s. There's like debate over whether or not like using PowerPoint was okay. Like, and by PowerPoint, I mean like the slides that you like, the little slide projector thing.
Yeah, the slide projector. Oh my gosh.
It's like whether or not that was glorifying to God or like what kind of Bible that you use, like the normal type of debates. But there wasn't anything like to the other side. In my experience, at least, I know that there was like a Gothard thread that like ran through the PCA church, where like there was like some more fundamentalist rules, but in general, like you could dance, you could sing, you could do all like the normal human things.
Okay. What was their like Presbyterian relationship to, you kind of mentioned it earlier, but like secular, like what was the thought on that? Like having secular friends, doing fun things, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I think there definitely was like, I mean, my dad was like youth group leader. Like they were doing fun things all the time. They were having fun camps and that sort of thing. I think but there was kind of this idea inside the church that like anything outside the church, anything in the secular world, I saw a comment earlier talking about that anything in the secular world was like everyone was doing drugs, like it was unsafe, like you were outside of God,
Yeah.
like it was either like you were going on the right path of like anything the Bible or the church said,
Yeah.
or like if you were straying from that, you were like on a path to destruction,
Yeah.
basically. And like
Yeah.
anything outside of that world, like everything's crazy out there. People are doing drugs. It's wild. Like staying here where it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah. So Lewis is commenting like so many great things on Instagram. He said, I felt Christianity created an us versus them mentality when it came to Christian friendships and worldly friendships. And I felt that so strongly. Friendship with the world is enmity with God, reinforcing the us versus them. That was so true. And in the charismatic world, there was this idea that there was a lot of things that you're allowed to do, but do you really want to give your soul to that? Do you really want to take up your time with that? So it got
what
so
about you?
intense.
Like, do you want to talk about the things in your church that were like not allowed?
Yeah. So it got really, really intense because it was like, oh, well, that's not like banned, but we're going to socially punish you if you're involved with that. So just literally like having a lot of hobbies that were outside of church, it was just like, what are you doing with your time? Like Jesus is coming back. Like you're wasting your friggin' time. It was very interesting. Yoga was the hot button issue. Holy moly, yoga. All it was just about yoga. Pokemon was huge. I remember my parents obviously weren't allowed to do any of that kind of stuff. And then we were hanging out one day with these missionaries who were back from Japan for just a little while, and they were about to go back, and their kids were super into Pokemon. My parents were like, I guess it's because, okay, they're evangelizing, so they have to use the popular culture. And they're like, okay, you can watch it, but only while you're at their house, and it's only so you can learn to evangelize better. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Only so you can learn to evangelize with Pokemon.
The amount of rationalizing it took them to get there was so bad. It was so funny. I like that's like really funny, but in the charismatic
I need to create
church,
like a framework of how to evangelize with Pokemon.
Post idea, write it down. Oh my gosh. Okay, pulling it back in. I was going to say, in the charismatic church, though, there was this feeling that because miracles and signs and wonders were your job, like this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be bringing heaven to earth. Normal life is just not good enough. Being sick is not cutting it. Having mental health issues doesn't exist. You have demons. And so the whole thing is like,
I'm sorry.
I know, but if you were like, I started therapy, people were like, why would you do that? Okay, so I guess you just don't have faith. I guess you're just going the world's route to get healing or whatever. So you would start like losing a little bit of your clout if you started if you went and took medication for something that wasn't life-threatening. And they would always be like, of course, go to the doctor. But there was this undercurrent of, you don't really have enough faith if you're engaging with this. So that was really intense because, again, it kind of felt like you could never do anything the easy or normal way to do it, because even if you couldn't explain why, there was probably some reason that the secular people were doing something bad.
Yeah, for sure.
We doing it that way. So that's what I remember. And it was like, yeah, again, it's okay to drink, but you really shouldn't drink because you're just a lesser Christian if you do.
No, that totally makes sense. Like there was such a shaming culture. And I think that's probably like a thing that both of us can relate to in our two separate, like totally different, but a lot the same experiences, is that there was kind of a shame culture of what you absorbed, where it was like either, because it was so binary, right? Like there's no gray. Like it was either you're doing the good thing or you're doing like the bad thing. And there was such a shame because it's like, I'm either a good person or I'm a bad person. Not I'm either doing a good thing or I'm doing a bad thing. Yes. So that's where the shame gets absorbed, is when you don't think of like the action that you're doing Like the action that you're doing becomes your whole identity.
Your identity, which I was going to say, that's how, that was the identity piece. It was really interesting in the charismatic church too, because they constantly preach on identity, but it felt like it was always a way to de-individualize people and make them conform to this identity in Christ. And it was a way that your mentors or your spiritual authority figures could correct you and tell you how to be more like them. It was very much, this is the way. And we're allowed to correct you because we need everyone to be the same here. It's easier to control everybody. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can we pause for a brief second? Because Jacob Gooden is cracking me up.
Go ahead.
He put with the Pokemon comment, he said, Pokemon Go, more like Pokemon Go to the church.
Yes.
Great Hillary Clinton reference.
Just any way to take something normal and make it churchified. Yep. Okay. And we've got some other comments here on Instagram. I'm going to come through them. Cartoons like Dexter's Lab were out because of bad attitudes. Oh my gosh.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to watch Sesame Street because they had liberal people on it. So canceled.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, don't even talk about Harry Potter. Yes. The most ironic thing was how we were totally not allowed to do anything with Harry Potter. And then my mom read it because she wanted to like prove how bad it was. And she loved it so much. She was like, okay, well, it's bad, but
yeah. Do you want to hear my funny Harry Potter story, not Pokemon story? My funny Harry Potter story is that like I really wanted to read Harry Potter. I was a huge reader as a kid, and that was like the holy grail of books. Maybe they were onto something now, but my mom was like, oh, you really need to know like the full she wanted me to have like a basis in the classics because a lot of the Harry Potter stuff is based on the classics.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I need to basically it came down to like you need to prove that you're mature enough to read these. So I was like, oh, I will show my maturity. So I came up with a whole plan of like, okay, when I turn 13, like I'll be able to read like the first 2 books, and then each year I'll be able to read another one. And I came up with the plan that way. And then like I presented it to my mom. I think I read the first book, and then she was like, okay, you can read the rest of them now. You've shown your maturity.
Like coming up with a plan, a schedule.
Yeah, but it was very much like I feel like as a young Christian kid, you were constantly like, especially as a pastor's kid, right? Like you were expected to like come out of the womb like a perfect human being, and have the maturity of a perfect human being, even if like you weren't, even if you're a kid with the normal emotional maturity of a kid. So that, and if you were emotionally immature because you are a kid, if you were bad, then that was seen as like you are bad, not as like you did a bad thing. So you became really mature because you wanted to be seen as good, and the goodness was safety, which is what all kids want.
Yep, absolutely. And I even remember the feeling of like with homeschool and with Christianity, this feeling that it was never said explicitly, but it was this implied thing in my head that I'm Christian, so I should be better than everybody else. I should
100%
gaining skills faster. I should be more mature. I should be better at school, especially when I transitioned from homeschool to public school. It was made pretty clear to me that all public schoolers were idiots and we were geniuses. And if we were not destroying public
100%,
school, like there's something seriously wrong with us. It even came to the point, because obviously I was in this when I was having kids, that I thought like I was supposed to do marriage really well. And I thought parenting would be really easy because I had the Holy Spirit and blah, blah, blah. And with my chronic illness, I was like, honestly, really subpar at these things. I physically could not show up the way I wanted to. And it was so devastating to my identity. I know we're like kind of getting off, but also somebody else put this comment, and this is just really important for charismaticism, super focused on redeeming time, hyper productivity focus. Yes. And that drives all of us crazy after we deconstruct, because we just feel like if every single moment is not hustled and created and whatever, we're not living for purpose, it can feel really like depressing, or like there's something wrong with us. And I think that plays into how we look at community after we deconstruct as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, where do we want to go next? There's a lot here. Do you have an idea of where we want to, like, there's so many places we could go.
For those of you on the side, Allison created a very detailed outline, which is great.
Sorry. I just barfed all my ideas out in this document.
No, it's great. Yeah. So do we want to talk about the stages of deconnection after connection after deconstruction?
Yes, actually, that would be great. Yeah. That would be great. Okay, so this is just a little bit of theorized stages. This isn't necessarily true. This is just what I've noticed, patterns when I hear people talking about as they deconstruct the things they've experienced. So I've noticed there is somewhat of a, stage one, you leave church, and there's stuff leading up to that. You're frustrated for a while. You have enough last straw moments that finally you say, no, I'm done. So you leave church. And then there's this, what I call stage two, the double agent, the soft launch. And I've heard people use this so many times where they've left church, but not everyone really knows why. So people will say, hey, have you found a church yet? Oh, I'm still looking. Even though you fully intend to never go back again, but you don't want to have the conversation because it is so deeply uncomfortable. And a lot of people, this could drag on for a while. This one dragged on for almost 5 years for me, where I was just like pulling my punches, trying to like soft launch little things and noticing how much people negatively reacted when they did figure out the pieces that I was letting go of. But I always say that you'll stay there until stage 3. You are miserable enough. The pain of not being known for who you are is so pressing on you that it's worth risking all the rejection and losing so many of the connections that you held so dear. And that's an intense tipping point. It really has to like build up for a while, because those connections, like you were saying, we need safety. That is a requirement as a human. That's your biological adaptive survival instinct. So you are going to have to find a way to be miserable enough that you're going to push past that. Because often people have like family, you have all your friends, depending on how involved you are in church, you might have your finances tied up in church. Your marriage may be fairly tied up in church. Your kids, you could have like holidays you spend with people from your church. Like you could lose so much. So that tipping point is personal for everybody. And it also depends on kind of what kind of support they have stumbled into. But most people by this point haven't really looked for new support. They're just kind of clinging to the old. And there is no shame.
I also want to point out something important in this too. So I think I grew up in the church. But I think one important thing, especially for people who come to church later in life, but I still think it applies to folks like me who maybe have different trauma, or they grew up in kind of like a rough family environment, where church provides a lot of structure, and it's very structured in a lot of ways. And I think especially for like neurodivergent brains, like it can provide a lot of structure and safety for people who grew up in rough home environments, like where church was the safe place and there was structure.
Yes.
And that it can provide a lot of safety. So if you feel like, okay, I got it out of the church and now I'm out here and I just don't have a mooring anymore. Like all of my structure is gone. I don't have anything to go to, no foundation for safety.
Yeah.
The church can feel like, oh, I'm going back like the prodigal son. I'm going back to like the prodigal son. I am that story. Is the story that you have in your mind in that, because you need that structure and you need that safety, and you know that is a place to go to, even if that church might not be the most safe thing for you. So I think that's important to point out as well.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And I'm so glad you brought that up. And the nervous system has patterned around that place. So it's really deeply uncomfortable, and it has to make new connections, and that takes time and it takes effort and it takes cellular energy, and your body doesn't want to do that. So it's like, can we just go back? And that's why I bounced back and forth several times. I would leave and then I'd be like, this is deeply uncomfortable. I needed financial assistance. I needed help with my kids occasionally. I was very sick and I really needed physical help and like welfare connections that people could watch my kids or bring us food. when we were having a hard time. And so it was very, very, very difficult for me to disconnect. And like you said, with the prodigal son thing, they will celebrate you so freaking hard every single time you come back. And it is like a little bit of a boost. And you're like, that's nice. But then getting evangelized every time sucks.
Yeah. Some folks in the comments are having some really good points. So Lewis is talking about being scared about spending eternity in hell. I think that's definitely a big one, because like being afraid, like, oh, I'm outside of the church now, I'm not following God, it's like I'm going to go to hell. Like that's definitely a reason why people go back, because like that's your safety. I think definitely there's like folks who will say like, oh, you need to be involved with the church, you need to come back, as like you need to be part of a community. And it's more like you're praised for like bringing people back into the fold and for evangelizing them and that sort of thing. So it's almost like almost like not a status boost, but maybe an ego boost with that too. It's kind of something that you're trained to do. I feel like, even like subtly. But I think that's definitely a thing. And I think like, family is a big thing as well. Like I was gone from church for a long time, and I was able to do that because I was away at college. But when I came back and I was living with my family, like they went to church every Sunday, and like the pressure of saying no to that was also really difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Yep. So a lot of people are saying that's what kept me in. The issue is not being convinced by religious arguments anymore is seen as turning your back on God. And like, that's their, like, I'm going to say a really mean statement. It's their like client retention strategy. Like, this is how they're managing you, is they have all these arguments. There's the Bible verse about like, Satan is like on the edges, trying to pick off people who are on the fringes and who are neglecting, or what is it called? I forget, neglecting meeting together with the brethren or something like that. There's a couple different verses that they'll be using all the time, talking about how deceived you are, talking about how you're going to be in danger, talking about how you're leaving the umbrella of safety from God. So there's these spiritual consequences that are being constantly reinforced. And the way your brain works is, if you believe something, your confirmation bias is going to pick that up. So you will start to convince yourself occasionally that that's actually happening, when what's truly happening is you have confirmation bias and you have your nervous system, which is patterned to church community. So it's really uncomfortable when you're leaving. But
we just want to be clear too. Like, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We just want to be clear too. Like, we're not anti-church. Like, I think there are good, healthy churches out there. But if you are a part of a church where there is unhealthy patterns or some toxic theology that's keeping you in, or you just need space to like differentiate and figure out what you do believe, then that should be perfectly fine for you to do without.
If there's like that feeling like you can't leave, or like you shouldn't leave because you're in danger, that to me tells that signifies there's some high control teaching going on. If you feel like it's that high stakes spiritually or physically for you, there's usually something going on there, because in a free, open kind of community, there should be the safety to come and go, the safety to engage as you feel comfortable. So that's always like a big red flag to me.
All right. So what stage are we on now? Stage 3, stage 4?
Yes. Okay. So just to recap, stage 1, leaving the church. Stage 2, you're soft launching. You're not totally being open with what you are really believing, and you're kind of getting uncomfortable. Stage 3, you are miserable, and there's a tipping point. And then stage 4, I call coming out. And I've heard many people describe it like this, because it feels like they're having to tell people who they really are for the first time. It's very, very, very uncomfortable. And stage 5 can be rejection. It's not always, it just depends on who's around you. Like, people are different, but for so many, it's so much rejection, so much, how could you? And you're not acting like yourself anymore. You're not acting like the version of you that we built this community around, and we want you to go back. And so that is it's a horrible stage for everybody. It's very uncomfortable. I personally experienced it pretty bad. I remember one of the things that someone said to me was, you're leaving church, so we're just not going to be able to hang out anymore. And I said, why? Like, why do you not want to hang out? She said, she tried to soften the blow. Well, I just don't hang out with people outside of church. I don't have time for that. So if I'm not going to see you on Sunday, I'm not going to see you. And I don't think that was the whole truth, but it was her best way to say, I will no longer be fraternizing with you. Just very interesting. Did you have any experiences like that, Kate?
I mean, my story is a little bit different, but like, before we get into that, I'm just hearing an echo. I just want to make sure that.
Oh, I don't hear it on my end.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, just making sure the audio is good with folks. I started hearing an echo a second ago. Just want to make sure.
Okay. Yeah, let us know on either platform if y'all are hearing anything weird.
Okay, I'm not hearing anybody. Anyway, okay, perfect.
Good.
Yeah. Yay. Yeah, so I had okay, perfect. Jacob is our resident audio expert.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so for me, it was a literal coming out. Where I came out to like a member of my family, and like it was like rejection for that.
Right. And to be clear, that was your queer identity. You actually came out with your queer identity to a member of your family.
To my dad, and that was like a rejection of that identity. So that was rejection, like went back in for a long time. But it was really hard for a variety of reasons, because you and I talked about purity culture last time. There was a lot of baggage with the purity culture stuff. Like that made me feel a lot of shame about going to church, a lot of stuff with the queer stuff, a lot of changes around politics around that time, a big rise in Christian nationalism and the Trump movement and all that sort of stuff. Where like I was coming out as against that and really differentiating for the first time. And then also being rejected for the same thing. That, and it makes you feel like you're wrong in a lot of ways, but it's really like you're just differentiating for the first time. And I think a healthy church allows for multiple viewpoints.
Yes, that is a green flag. And look for that.
Exactly. And for me, it was really a matter of being able to differentiate and being able to feel like I was welcome within a space, because for the first time in my life, I went from being like the pinnacle of the inside group, like the pastor's daughter, to like being the outside group.
Right.
I've never done drugs, so I'm not there. No offense to anyone who does like drugs recreationally.
I was like, oh, I have. Well,
no, but like that was like the equivalent of like, oh, you are now that outside group now. So it was really, it really gives you a new perspective, and it gives you new empathy when you can relate to people that it actually impacts. Where there's this huge us versus them mentality, and then you figure out like, oh my gosh, I'm the them. And that really expands your empathy a lot. And it's hard because I felt like I'd grown up with a very, lovely church community. Like the people around me were like, we saw them all the time. They were like aunts and uncles and grandparents. And to know that they wouldn't accept this part of me and that it was outside is really like deeply like sad. It's there's a grief there that you experience it when you realize like, oh, like I can't be accepted by this community before, and this community was my whole community. And I think one thing that really helped me is I'm a comm studies major, if you can't tell. And I had learned for my whole life that there was only one way to do things. And that was God's way, and it was a straightforward way. But what comm studies taught me is that different communities are made up of. So what comm studies told me is that different communities have different communication patterns. And the way that you communicate makes up your culture. So the language that you use creates your culture. And understanding it that way made me realize that I wasn't part of the culture. I was part of a very distinct subculture. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until I realized like communication makes up culture, and that's why I am literally speaking a different language than the
Yeah.
people around me.
Yeah.
It's because I grew up in this subculture, and this subculture has particular values and particular views,
Mhm.
and they're different from the outside world, but maybe not necessarily bad,
Yeah.
or maybe not necessarily the best ones.
Right. Like you're
Yeah, like
having
there's a
a
lot of
better.
gray.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I wanted to like kind of just go back really quick because we had a comment. Someone asked, what would you recommend for someone who just left the church? How did you rebuild community? So we are definitely going to get to that. We're getting through this kind of beginning part about the leaving and the endings, but we will be the second half of this is all getting into that. And then someone else here put, when I came out after I left the church, my Christian friends said that I was destructive to my life and the lives of others. One of them also
Mhm.
said my daughter was demonic for being gay. And
Oh
that
my
is such a
gosh.
tactic. It's just such a common tactic to, again, try to retain. Like if they can't retain you by convincing you, then they'll try to retain you by attacking you. And then if you're still going to leave, they don't want your ideas infecting anyone else in the church, so they do character assassination behind your back.
Mhm.
And that is, again, that is the rejection. And
Yeah.
I love that you use the word grief, because in the
Mhm.
rejection there is so
So
much
much.
grief, because it wasn't all bad times. That's the other part of it. And
Yeah.
you have to grieve the good parts that you can't take forward, as well as the bad parts. And it's just a really painful process. It took me years. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
took me a
years.
really long time to face everything that we went through. But it gives way. It gives way to what I wrote here, stage 6, true authenticity, like coming home to yourself.
Mhm.
And I wrote here authenticity as, like, these are my words, so maybe these don't make sense to you, but authenticity as this like bouncer, this energetic bouncer that really brings in people that you want to be around, and it really slams the door to people that you no longer need to be messing with anymore. Because it is so awkward when you start being yourself all the way, because you realize that you cannot please everyone. You realize that
Mhm.
you share something and one person's going to love it and one person is going to hate it. You and I get to experience this a lot being social media creators. I mean, honestly, like my favorite, we need to do a whole live on this, but my favorite comment that I get more than once is that I'm a daughter of Satan. I love that one. It's really, really funny. But it's because I take a stand that someone doesn't like. And it's interesting because that same stand lets other people know, oh my gosh, like I'm safe here. And so that's part of being authentic afterward, trusting that the more you are yourself, the more you're going to call in those connections that are going to be supportive of you and that accept you as you are right now. And there's no shock later when you tell someone like who you are. Like you'd never
Mhm.
made a connection on false pretenses. So usually the connections are a lot more stable than when you're in the shaky middle ground, which it happens when you're in the middle, you're still soft launching. Like in Texas, literally the grocery store talk is like an old lady walking up to you asking what church in town you go to. And it's just so like second nature. You just answer it as if you're going to church because you just don't want to deal with it at the grocery store.
Mhm.
But when you start being like, oh, I don't go to church, you'll get like oh my gosh, like what's wrong with you? And then it's like the conversation's over. You don't have to talk anymore. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to hear if you have thoughts on like just stepping into authenticity after deconstructing.
Yeah. I think there's one thing I wanna add, which might be, like, step 5.5.
Okay.
But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it can be, like, a longer, I feel like it can be, like, a longer phase. For me, it lasted for years,
Okay.
um, is the grief phase, and I
Yeah.
feel like you really need to grieve that period in your life, those lost connections,
Mm-hmm.
really journal. and work to find that identity again. Because I was reading I Belong to Me by Tia Levings. If anyone
Yeah.
needs a great deconstruction book, that is a great deconstruction book. And she talks about how the different stages, particularly within evangelical churches, really disrupt the different stages of childhood development identity formation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you disrupt these stages of childhood identity formation uh, throughout the process, then it can be really hard to stand on your own and differentiate later in life.
Yeah,
So
that makes
when
sense.
so I think part of it is taking the time to grieve so that you can really work to create that identity again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
grief isn't just sadness. Grief is also, and I go more into this with my live that I did last week with
Yeah.
the Kindred Space about ambiguous grief. It's on my Substack, it's on Instagram. But it's really about going through the different emotions. You go through fear of losing those connections. You go
Mm-hmm.
from external hope of hoping that things will change or things will be better this time to like internal
Mm,
hope of what can I do.
yeah.
And you also create new connections in your life. You create new
Yeah.
things in your life so that you can move forward and let go.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for me, and this is also coming from narcissistic abuse,
Mm-hmm.
is my identity formation.
Yeah.
Like I literally asked myself at some point, like, what do I like?
Yeah.
And I could kind of give you an answer, or what do I want in life?
Mm-hmm.
And I really had to do some deep journaling. So the first
Yeah.
thing that I did was I wrote down what are my top 5 values that I have,
Yeah.
and I'm going to base my whole life around those 5 values. And if like you forget what a value was, you can
Yeah.
Google them, like look up a list of like what values are and
Yeah.
write down your 5 values, and then write down a list of like 10 things that your inner child loved.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think doing that helps you reconnect with this younger self of you so
Yeah.
that you can begin to heal those stages of identity formation and build your life around these values that you have.
Yeah.
And so I think, and that's part of this deeper process of grief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's how you really start to launch into that identity, that authentic self. You do
Mhm.
have to do quite a bit of digging there.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. It is very long. We had a question here. I don't know if you want to take this one, but here on
Yeah.
Instagram, someone said, any advice for someone whose folks don't accept them being LGBTQ? Coming
Yeah.
from it yourself, why don't you share, if you can, what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, I think it's really hard. I think the hardest thing about it is knowing that you will lose connections,
Mhm.
being who you are authentically.
Yeah.
For me, like I came out to my dad. I was rejected for that. My dad and I are since estranged. It gave me more, that estrangement did give me more freedom in my life
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
come out as part of that. I'm not out to everyone in my family. And that's just a like a safety thing of like if they're safe people to come out to or not. Like not that they'd physically hurt me, but it's just emotional safety.
Yeah.
Um, and not everyone needs to know. You will lose some people over it, and
Yeah.
I think that's part of the grief, and that's grief I'm continuing to go through.
Right.
Because it's been relatively recently that I've come
Right.
out very publicly about it, and just continuing going through the grief of those relationships and knowing some people will leave and some people will stay.
Yes.
But it was really part of that grief journey of just going through all of that and realizing this is a part of me and this is a part of myself that I need to embrace, and this is a part of myself I, as part of loving my full self and accepting my full self, I also need to accept this part of me. And
Yeah.
if other folks don't accept this part of me, then that's up to them. And that is
Yeah.
not my responsibility to um, carry their emotions and how they
Yes.
react to that. But
Yes.
I know what I believe, and I know
Yeah.
I've studied scripture, I've studied books, but
Yeah.
that is something I realized God loves me the way I am. I love myself the way I am, but I wouldn't have been able to get there if I didn't go through that grief
Yeah.
work and continued grief work. It's continued.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I could build that identity in order
Yeah.
to come out publicly like that.
Yeah, something I will add, not necessarily having personal experience with LGBTQ. So toss this if this doesn't apply. But I've also noticed that, again, our brain bias has been looking at the current community we have. And it's been in the echo chamber. And so we have our definition of what community is, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable. And it's kind of interesting when you go online, you start to recognize there are so many diverse, even just online communities where you would be 100,000% like accepted, loved, encouraged, like cheered on for sharing your authentic self. And so I know it's very uniquely painful when it is your parents. And I understand that's kind of its own category. And also there are places where you will be celebrated, like everywhere. And they're getting to be more and more just as we go on in history and time. There's just more and more available. And so I would encourage you to at least start to look for those places. Like even in smaller towns, there is usually, it's interesting. You find these little pockets and you're like, oh my gosh, here's all the people. Here are my people. And this is going to kind of actually, I want to use this to transition into the next part of this conversation, which is how to actually rebuild community afterward. And the first part of this is redefine. This is why it's called this, redefining what community is. Because we have this idea, we are fed this idea that you need a one group, similar ideas, similar everything, similar spirituality. It needs to be an echo chamber. Everyone needs to be the same. And that's how you get your connection needs met. And after deconstruction, that definition has to change, or you will end up back where you were, or you'll end up in a new place that will be very similar, but it's now a business cult, or it's now a political cult, or it's now, it's just another place where it's an echo chamber. You're losing your identity again. And so when we start to look at what community actually is, it's not one place. It's how you surround yourself with connections that meet your needs. They do not have to all be related. In fact, it would be better if they're not. And you diversify what is coming in and you have connections that really challenge you. You have connections that nourish you. You have light connections that are acquaintanceships where you just do fun things together. You have super deep philosophical connections, and you just diversify as much as you can. This is what I always talk to my clients about when they're saying they can't find community. And I understand what they mean, but I challenge them and I say, are you trying to replace what you had before? And they usually say yes. And then I say, let's look at that. Because you do not actually want to replace it. That's not what's going to help you. And again, you have narrowed your peripherals down to only scan for that kind of group, for that kind of community. And when you go like this, like there's community everywhere. So how do you want to create it? And you're unique. You have unique needs. You have unique abilities to connect with people. You have unique interests, values, things that you enjoy, ways that you communicate, language that you use. And your version of that little world, that little cosmos, that little galaxy that you build around yourself is going to look different for every single person. Okay. Do you have anything to say about that case?
Yeah. I think that's a really great differentiation, because I think a lot of the times we think like, oh, I'm outside the church, I'm free. But I notice when you haven't gone through the grief work, when you haven't gone through the identity rebuilding formation work, it is really easy to get caught up in another cult-like environment.
Yeah.
Because that's at that point, that's just how your brain is wired. Like if you grow up in that way, like you are going to seek the familiar because the familiar is safe. But I mean, toxic religious environments happen in all religions. Like it happens in like business groups. It's just part of human nature and how we build community. And often within a community, there's toxic things that happen in any community. And you don't have that good sense of grounding and identity and have
Mhm.
gone through that grief work in life, it is really easy to get sucked into something else.
Yes. To
There
have all your connections in one place.
Yeah, have all your
Like
connections in one place.
yeah.
So it leaves people really vulnerable. So I
Yeah.
think that's a great point. Um, there's another thing I'll tell you about how I rebuilt community
Yeah.
afterwards. I think this is kind of fun. So
Yeah.
I actually ended up going to like an aerials class and I learned
Yeah.
how to do trapeze, and
Yeah.
that replaced my Sunday mornings. Is every morning I would
Wow.
go to trapeze class
Yeah.
because little me, she like watched like the We Sing circus tape and she
Yeah.
wanted to do the trapeze.
Yeah.
And that's what I gave little me because I wasn't interested in her and that of hers, and that was something that like she loved
Yeah.
to do. And
Yeah.
that replaced my Sunday mornings, and there was such a great community around that where we really
Yeah.
supported each other. So things like going to a class, or if you don't have the
Yes.
money for a class, like there are lots of things at like the community center
Yeah.
of like art classes that you can take, pottery classes. Like
Right.
there is a great app called Meetup,
Oh, cool.
and there are tons, like tons and tons and tons of clubs, like
Yeah.
running clubs, writing clubs, like any type of club you could ever imagine. Like there's stuff in there. I like took a class with, for any writers out there, like I took a class with a group called Authors Publish, and it was 30 days of writing poetry, which is, if you're going through grief, is a great thing to
Mm.
do, is just
Yeah.
write poetry.
Yeah.
And the people that I met from that class, like we still meet every 2 weeks, and that's my community.
Yeah.
So think there's opportunities for community
Yeah.
everywhere, and you don't have to have money to do it.
Yes. Yeah. You don't need money. Joining a book club, getting really
Mhm.
involved with your local library. I found
Yeah.
so many crazy connections. I had little kids a lot at the time when I was starting to rebuild community. So a lot of it was
Mhm.
like around what could my kids do with me at the same time? Something where I'm not 100% parenting alone. That was a real need that the church filled for me, was having childcare or help. So I found other moms groups that provided an hour of childcare, and it was just
That's
like
great.
that helps. And they were, low cost or whatever. I was actually, weirdly enough, part of a secular homeschool group that was just fabulously open-minded and so deeply respectful of everyone in the group, and not proselytizing in any direction.
Mhm.
And they rebuilt my sense of how many different types of connections that you could have.
Yeah.
It was deeply meaningful for me. I connected with people over board games. I connected people with
Mhm.
people over all kinds of interests. And for anybody out there who might have this, the thought that ran in my head was, these aren't good enough. These aren't good enough connections. This is trivial. I'm connecting over something that's not deeply impactful, meaningful, purpose driven. It's not changing the trajectory of my life. And I really had to challenge that mindset. That mindset came really strongly by this Christian elitism idea and the hyper productivity of the charismatic movement, where every moment needs to be purpose driven. The Purpose Driven Life, that's a book. And there's just so much talk about how you're not living out of your identity if you're not making impact, if you're not constantly growing. But it's the same trap of personal development culture. It's like everywhere. If you get too much into this, I always have to improve. It's actually like not super helpful for your body anyways. It's not natural. You
Mhm.
need to be able to enjoy small, normal human things. So I had this huge mindset shift, and I confronted my own arrogance. I had so much arrogance around people who were having fun or resting a lot or really
Mhm.
just enjoying their human life. I just thought that's not enough. And I did a 180, and I realized, oh my gosh, like these people, everyone, everyone that I encounter has something they could teach me and that I could learn from, because I am not it. Like everyone.
Mhm.
And I'm talking like people who are on drugs and have their life falling apart. They still have something, they still have some human experience that I could learn from and I could talk to them from. And I don't need, like, it's that whole evangelism kind of thing that was in my
Yeah.
head. Like, I have something to offer the world. It's not like untrue. Everyone does. But man, Your ability to connect with people drastically shifts when you start listening. Actually fucking listening.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss. Actually listening to people on a day-to-day basis. I'm talking like the person who's doing your groceries, look them in the eye and ask them how their day is going, and then ask a deeper question. I'm talking like people you walk by when you're walking your dog in the morning every day, neighbors that you live next to. And it doesn't have to be super deep, but you're just always putting down that whatever, I'm looking for this perfect connection, and just saying what's here, what's available, what's geographical, what's right here on my radar, and what can I learn? Yeah. So that was a huge shift for me. That again, it opened up my peripherals to see how many opportunities I had for connections. And then some of the friends that I made that became my best friends were people that I probably wouldn't have talked to. But I gave them a chance, and then like they gave me so much. Like I received so much from those connections, and I treasure them like to this day. So yeah, that was a big one for me.
Do you know what was one of like the most powerful thing to me making friends was getting a dog. And I'm not saying that everyone like goes out and gets a dog tomorrow. Like please like make sure that you have like the funds to get a dog. But like my dog is super friendly, and just like being able to go to the dog park, meet other people. Like we had a whole group chat called like the dog moms, and it was all the people in our apartment complex who had dogs and like were young professionals, and we all had that in common. So like we'd get together, we'd go to the pool together, like we do all these different things, and so like neat. Have a great connection. And it's just things like that. And it doesn't have to be a dog, right? Like it can just be, but because I had a dog that was friendly and other people had dogs. Like we were able to have enough of a conversation to make a connection and then have long-lasting friendships because of that. So there are great opportunities for connection. Like, and I think there was another added challenge as a homeschooler of being able to connect with other people and actually knowing how to like relate to other people. There's a book, it's an older book, it's called oh shoot, it came out in the 60s. What is it called? How to Make Friends and Influence People. That's what it is. It's an older one. Like some of the information is probably out of date, but basically the takeaway from that book, like too long didn't read, is asking people about themselves, because people love to talk about themselves. And they'll tell you like, oh, how are your kids? How is your dog? How is that sort of thing? And just remembering like little things about other people's lives. And I think especially when we're in evangelicalism, like we're thinking like, oh, how can we convert this person? Like when we have that superiority complex, right? We're like, ulterior motives, change around this person, but like actually having like curiosity about a person and checking in, like that is a huge shift to building authentic relationships. And then you realize that like when you were trying to like either overshare to build an authentic relationship beforehand, or try to evangelize someone, like you weren't actually building authentic relationships. But by like really being curious about someone else's inner world, you're creating much healthier authentic relationships and doing it that way. Good. And that's how you create great community.
That's so good, because it all comes from this place. We just want to be seen. We want to be understood for who we are. And it is a very interesting thing that deconstruction takes us through, because that shifts. Like we recognize that who we are is different than who we thought we were. So it's shocking, but then ultimately we just want to be known. We just want to be known. We want to be known. Best way to be known is to know. Is to offer that to other people. It's to create be the safe space for somebody else. And then people will start to also know you too. That kind of brings us into, I just wanted to mention this about belonging. So there's such a difference between finding belonging with people and fitting in. And if you know anything about Dr. Brene Brown, she talks about this quite often. She defines belonging as the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world. And so she says it's the opposite of fitting in. Fitting in is this, please like me. It's evaluating the environment, figuring out what you need to say or look like, and betraying your authentic self to gain external approval. This is just like church 101. It leads to exhaustion, anxiety, and a hollow sense of self.
Yeah. Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we were talking about the identity formation earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you have, because the steps of evangelicalism disrupt identity formation, when your identity is disrupted, you look for outside validation in order to validate that sense of self. So it is more difficult for you to be authentic. So in turn, you look for, and you basically learn to act so that you can gain that external validation, so that that external validation gives you a sense of identity, even though that's not a real identity.
Wow.
But when you go through the grief process and you come home to yourself and you learn how to build the identity in yourself and rebuild those stages, then you are more able to be truly authentically who you are, and you don't have to rely on that external validation as much because you have internal validation of who you are because you've built that up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Building up your internal validation. So important and so difficult when you are told your heart's deceitful, when you're told you need to keep your mind on things above, when you're told that you don't want to be thrown around by your emotions. It can feel like that. It can be difficult. But once you start to recognize like who I am actually is perfect, it's fine, it's great, it's beautiful, then you can start build your own validation. I saw Josh put something here on Instagram. I'm a former missionary kid. My issue is I overshare, and it is so hard also with my self expectations for relationships. I'm a chronic oversharer. I was literally just like, it's bad. I was just in therapy like 2 weeks ago, and this is what we talked about the whole time. And I was like, man, I got to learn how to shut my mouth. It is so rough. But I actually saw this really good, I mean, it's not the word overshare, but it really spoke to me. It was from it's a podcast. It's from Neurosomatic Intelligence. That's the business, but I don't think that's what it's called. If I find a link, I'll try to put it wherever it is in the comments here or on Substack to this podcast. But it was talking about people pleasing and perfectionism as a way to manage your environment and dealing with rejection sensitivity. And the way they framed it was so gentle and so understanding. So much of like, this is how you stayed safe. This is how you developed in your family of origin, probably strongly in church. It's somewhat of a fun response because it kind of makes you look more vulnerable, even though it's interesting how we craft our overshares. We usually avoid the real heart. But if I can find this podcast, I'll share it for any of you guys because it was just really impactful, and it was not the kind of like judgmental take on it. It made me feel more like seen and understood. And then I was like, wow, okay, here's a path forward. And they were really doing it through the lens of the nervous system too. So they were just talking about how you work the nervous system regulation to work with this pattern, and not just like, oh, I just have to stop myself. Like that's probably not going to work.
Yeah, that's a really great point, because I think with oversharing in particular, because it's that external sense of validation again. Like if you overshare, like you have a good testimony, like you get that get that external validation from that. Like you are good, you are along God's path, you get that external validation.
Yeah.
And I think at the same time, like I think like also from your parents as well. Like if I said like I asked Jesus into my heart, like that's great, like
There's a
validation. Or you have
celebration.
like so like you learn to find safety in that, and I think that's a really important thing. I think it also becomes a way of like trying to relate with other people as well. Like you get a bunch of teenagers in a room together, like get some music going, and like suddenly everyone's crying and oversharing and like admitting things because they feel that emotion. And there's one thing that I keep on circling around that I'm I'm trying to get to, but like I think it becomes this way that we get external validation from others.
Yeah, for sure. And also, this kind of tied in. We're trained almost like Pavlov's dogs to always what's the right word? Confessional. We're trained to just be confessional, and like
you feel guilty if you don't confess it.
Yes. Yeah. You feel guilty.
That's what I was circling around.
Yes. So that whole confessional thing, it's very interesting because it is such an effective control tactic, and also disarms you, and it makes you incredibly vulnerable because you share things that you do not need to be sharing. And then it does give people a measure of control if they are the kind of person who would use that. And so I don't know if that's what like this person was like commenting about, but I've also noticed in that way, like I've made myself vulnerable in a position that I put myself in and I didn't need to. And it was because I was trained to do that. And it's really hard to change that pattern. But I refuse to swirl the drain of shame and say there's something wrong with me. Like this was how my nervous system shaped itself around surviving this environment. Yeah. It's not because I'm a bad person. Like, and it's no longer useful. So it is something that I am retraining. I am reshaping, but that process is slow and we're going to make tons of mistakes through it, and it's okay. And we just regulate and we take little steps.
And I think there's something to be said about like confession in terms of like in a personal relationship with someone. Yeah. Like if I was, I don't know, if I was like, oh, Allie, I broke your vase. Like, like that's a personal relationship between both of us. But I feel like it gets put on this pedestal of like, you have to confess to your entire youth group that like, I don't know, like you did this thing. Right. And I think when like someone's in like a leadership position, like they have corporate confession, I think there's some merit to that. Like, but in terms of like you're a kid, like, like being told to do that, but we're really, I feel like having any sort of like personal inside life. It disrupts that identity formation, right? Like you can't have this personal inside life of things that you might feel because like if you have any sort of sin, then you feel guilty for not sharing it or confessing it.
You just hit on the other extreme, and you kind of said this before, but what is so integral to rebuilding community, redefining community, creating community around yourself is building your relationship to yourself. And that's that relationship to your identity. That's the grief process. Like you need to become really deeply acquainted with who you are before you can you're even capable of sharing it. And before you're even knowing what you're looking for and what you need. And part of that is like, sometimes it's learning to be alone a little bit. Not all the time, not always. I just interviewed a somatic therapist who was talking about how you cannot do nervous system regulation alone. It's not an alone activity. You need community. So I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's so good to learn how to be alone. And like my personal story is kind of extreme, but I moved out to the country, got really poor, got a chronic illness, and had 3 kids. And I was alone and off social media for 6 years. And I did not have that many connections or friends. And it was honestly exquisite. Like the way I describe the identity formation that happened in that time, because I did not have anywhere to get external validation. Nobody really liked me in this small town. They all thought I was sick and I was weird because I didn't want to go to church, and that's just what they did. They went to church. And it was this like crucible, but it was also like this place where my identity formed. So when I did re-enter and started to make new connections, I actually knew who I was without all of that, without all the trappings. And it was a lot easier to handle rejection. And this year has been like my year of just getting rejected left and right as I get more and more authentic. But it's like that muscle has been built. And so I almost, I do care sometimes, but most of the time it's just like, oh, this just means I'm opening a new door when this one shuts with this person or whatever, or this group of people. And I just have a lot of excitement for where authenticity will lead me, and what kinds of people I don't even know that I want to connect with, that I will. So that's a pretty extreme version of learning to be alone. That's what I did. I'm not like recommending that necessarily, but it's what I needed. And And yeah, someone here said, I'm just now starting identity formation at 31. You're so not alone, by the way. So not
Yeah,
alone.
so not alone. You're never alone.
No, yeah. I have clients in their 50s who are like, oh my gosh, like, who am I? You're not alone. It's we all have different times where it becomes available to us. And most likely you did not have the resources. You did not have the internal nervous system capacity to do it. But now that it's becoming available to you, your brain is ready to work on it. So, I mean, yeah, it's a good time. It's a hard time, but you're not alone.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, even if you like live in a small town, like you don't have anything around you, like there are online communities. Like
Yes.
I have a book and craft club. Like if anyone is interested in that, feel free to DM me after this. Like I will send you the link to the Discord. We meet monthly and we do crafts. We talk about a book. You don't have to read the book. You can just like sit there and talk about to other people who have gone through deconstruction, like make connections there. There's other groups. I know like the New Evangelicals has one, like, and I believe there's also like networks of folks as well throughout it, like throughout different deconstruction spaces. I don't know all of them off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
like you're never alone. There is community out there.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel like doing like deconstruction stuff right now, like there's other options as well. Like go to a trapeze class, go to an art class, go to a pottery class, like go to like a free meetup. The Meetup app is a fantastic place to do it.
Even
as well.
just like local events going on. I just went to an ecstatic dance event. And that's something that I'm interested because it's an embodiment practice. It's very somatic. I love music and I love EDM, and it was very EDM like centered. And so it was really neat. And I just went because I thought it'd be fun for me. And then I met it was like 6 different people, and they were all involved in different types of communities that I want to be involved with. One was very like poetry, one was art, another one was part of the queer community. And I was just like so excited. There was so many different interesting things that people, there was a bunch of spiritual entrepreneurs and business owners. That's cool. I was like, heck yeah. Like I just went to this one thing and I got right up on the edge of multiple really like beneficial communities. So it's like, just do fun stuff and like, you'll just meet people.
Yeah. If you're in like a lot of towns, especially if you live in a city, but like a lot of towns, they'll have like a free newsletter that goes out. Like I like when I lived in like Wilmington, there's like what's on Wilmington, like check like if your place has like a free newsletter of like different events around the town or around your area, because that can be a great way to meet people as well.
Yes, definitely. Oh, so good. Okay. Let's go back to belonging really quick. Yeah. So we were talking about the difference between belonging and fitting in. And I'm just going to keep going on my notes from Brene Brown here, because finding true belonging is the key. And we've talked about how like knowing yourself, like you have to know yourself in order to do this. You have to know who you are so you can know what you need. And so you can speak your truth. And that's what she says. She says true belonging requires you to accept yourself, speak your truth, remain true to your values regardless of external pressures. And that's where having your identity really formed matters. It means having the courage to stand alone in the wilderness when necessary, only when necessary. You don't have to do that all the time. And then I liked just this summary of the 4 elements of true belonging from her book, Braving the Wilderness. I think that book probably speaks to so many of us going through deconstruction, because it can feel like that. But I love this one. People are hard to hate close up, move in. Cultivating genuine connection requires us to look past stereotypes, lean into difficult conversations, and engage with people face to face. And that's part of that uprooting these mindsets that are very internalized. They're not even necessarily what you believe anymore. You've probably deconstructed out of so many of those arrogant types of ways of thinking towards people or negative ways of viewing them, but you may still have them internalized a little bit. And so getting close with like the people that would have been considered outsiders before, or, bad or whatever, go find out their story. Like, okay, one example is psychedelics were always like seriously discouraged in all of my circles. And I started to talk to people who are very into psychedelics. And I'm like, what is your experience? And then it's just so interesting. You learn so much. You find out so much about people. I've kind of gone on a deep dive on that lately. And it's been fascinating. And I'm like, okay, this is not cut and dry. This is not a stereotypical type of person who does this. There's not even like a common reason for why people do them. They're so varied. So get close up with people that you think you would know. And then, okay, she says, speak truth to BS, be civil. So she says true belonging requires speaking your truth, but do it with civility, respect, and a commitment to connection rather than destruction, which is something that Christians don't do very often. They think that they're speaking truth and love, and they'll say that, but often it's superiority, it's evangelism, it's not preserving like a respect for the other person. So cultivating this, it's judgmental. And you said curiosity, cultivating a sense of curiosity, always, always approach everyone with curiosity and still be able to speak what you need to say. Okay. Do you want to say anything about those two? There's two more, but that was a lot.
I think speaking truth to BS, like, it's so hard to do, right? And I think that's where like I still struggle with it, especially like if I'm tired. And like if I'm surrounded by other folks who don't like believe the same thing as me. Then I have to kind of choose my battles. So I think that's definitely true. Like when you can stand in yourself and speak truth to that, I think that's so important. I think I'm trying to read the rest of it. I love what it said about commitment to connection, because I think when we get to like the other side and we're deconstructing and our beliefs are changing, it can be kind of interesting, because we often have the same fundamentalist mindset, but on the other end.
Absolutely.
And I think when our beliefs change so much like that, because that's our differentiation, right? Like we've gone from over here to way over here. And in order to preserve that identity, that new identity that we found when we've been told like, oh, you can't have this identity, we have to speak really loudly about like, and really affirm that other side to it. So like, I think a lot of the times, because we're still feeling that hurt and rejection in the past and that sort of thing, it can cause it to become really defensive and put people down instead of calling people in. And asking questions. Because I think, especially me, because I was in all the homeschool debate stuff. Like I would love to be able to come with you at you with like all my facts and figures and stuff like that. But sometimes I don't have the energy for that. Sometimes the answer is like, if someone says like, oh, they're like, I don't believe in the moon landing. Like the answer is, oh, why don't you believe in the moon landing? And try to create something connection over something else, rather than arguing that point if you know that they're just not going to change on that. So I think finding other ways to connect with people can often you bring in more flies with honey, like trying to create connections with people like brings more people in and calls more people in to maybe a wider view of thinking about the world than by being like defensive or putting people down or calling them dumb, because that just causes people to go further in.
And defensiveness just shows kind of like a weaker internal structure of that formation of identity, and it is like kind of part of it. Like you're going to pendulum swing. And that's okay.
And you have to remember too, like they've gone through, most likely if they are like a family member or like a friend from that world, like they have gone through all the same things that you probably have, or a lot of them. Like they've gone through the same system, and like they, for a variety of reasons, that they're just in a different stage than you. But I think the things that caused me to change my mind about a lot of the things that I grew up with was my best friend, who called me in on a lot of things, and like wasn't mean of calling BS on things, but really called me in and caused me to question why things were, so that I could have empathy. And through that, connection and building empathy and trust and that sort of thing, I changed my mind on a lot of things. And I'll always be grateful for that.
Yeah, that's so great. Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 2 more here. And then I think, do we want to move to questions and just see if anybody has any questions? I'm getting really tired. So I want to probably start wrapping up.
It's getting late. It's getting late.
15 minutes or so. But while I read these next 2, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat on either Instagram or Substack, and we will go through them. It can be anything related to redefining community or our own stories, and we'll get to them one by one. So she also says, hold hands with strangers, shared human experiences, even people we don't know well or agree with on everything, anchor us and remind us that we are part of something larger. And this is like my foundational core love. This is my belief for all of community and humanity. I am obsessed with how can I honor someone else's humanity today. And look past any of the stereotypes or whatever, and really say, like, what can they teach me? Like, I think that encapsulates that really well.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing with growing up and like evangelicalism, right? Is because everyone on the outside was unsafe, and being able to learn to hold hands with other people or empathize with their story, I think makes it a lot harder to, like, when I got other perspectives from LGBTQ people, like when I got perspectives on, like, from my best friend who is a Black man, like that really changed my view on the world in a lot of ways, of being able to hold hands with different people and say, like, this really affects your life individually, and I'm going to stand with you as a friend.
Yeah, it's just so important. So important that we listen to the people around us. Again, back to the theme of curiosity, and like, I don't even like using the word humility anymore because it's so Christianized, but it's true. Like, humbling yourself, recognizing you don't have all the answers at any time, even despite all this work and all of this deconstruction, like, you still don't have all the answers. So don't think that it's a flex to ever get stuck in your beliefs.
The best phrase that I heard this week, because a lot of folks and the trolls again, a lot of folks in my comments, they say with full certainty, like, the Bible says this indisputably. But a phrase that I learned recently that I really love, because I used to think similar things, but like, again, there's 45,000 denominations, like, and they are all faithful Christians, but they all have different interpretations of the same scripture. Is one thing that I learned recently was humility is the soil where the fruits of the Spirit grow.
Get them back on their turf.
It's like humility is soil where the fruits of the Spirit grow, and that is when that love, like, all the fruits of the Spirit are going to come from that humility.
Yeah, that's great. That'd be like majorly triggering to people who are not no longer in the church, but it's also, that could be really, like, encouraging to someone who is still comfortable with that language. Okay. And then the last one she writes about finding true belonging is the wilderness. True belonging is not about being universally liked. So that's really important. Even when you are able to hear different viewpoints, you're committed to connection. It's not about being liked. It requires the courage to stand alone and trust yourself, even when standing apart from the crowd. And that's what I was talking about with your authenticity will shut doors to rooms you do not need to be in, but it will also open doors to rooms that you probably discounted or didn't see before. And you can trust that. It's kind of a little bit of a trust fall to jump off and say, I don't know what kind of person likes the kind of person that I am finding out I am. But I'm going to find out by continually showing up. And, like, I have been personally just continually amazed to find out the rooms I find myself in, the kinds of conversations I'm having, the types of people that I never would have talked to before and are my closest friends, or I just have a deep connection with now. So I'm a big fan.
I think that's so important. Like, and I'll add something here too from, like, the trauma informed perspective, like, as being someone relatively recent to this space, where, like, I have recently started doing this within the past few months and been, like, in the deconstruction influencer space. Is I was so surprised because I was so scared, like, putting out my identity, my beliefs, my
Yeah.
things into the world. But there's been trolls here and there, but like the overwhelming response has been really positive.
Yeah.
And people were like, yes, this is what I'd love to see. Like, this is a person that I want to be around.
Yeah.
And that's been so validating. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of my fear around it is, I think when we go through trauma, especially like when we go through the church, where like if you are seen for your true self, and I think this a lot of people like really split down the middle, like
Yeah.
the quote unquote double life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Within the church, is because you're scared of being fully seen. And that's
Yeah.
also a huge part of CPTSD.
Yeah.
And like religious trauma, is that we're so scared of being seen and being known, and we feel so alone, and that shame really isolates us.
Yeah.
Because we're afraid of that rejection. But really, like, what heals that trauma is being seen and being
Yeah.
fully known by people and coming on it.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised, because I have shared very vulnerable things for the purpose of helping other people feel less alone and know that it's out there, and helping to advocate for other survivors and children and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And having that response be positive instead
Yeah.
of rejecting has been really surprising to me. So
Yeah.
it's going to seem really scary. It's probably going to
Yeah.
be less scary than you think. And when you have that identity formation, like,
Yeah.
this is a funny one. I had a video go viral of me dancing. Someone was like, "You're a terrible dancer. You should never dance again." And I'm like, I know. Isn't it so embarrassing? Like, I had
Yeah.
this mom dancing online.
Yeah. You're like, that
It's
was
like,
not the point of this video.
yeah. But it was like but I embrace that about myself. I know,
Yeah.
like, I'm not the best dancer in the world, and I'm not embarrassed if someone knows that.
No.
So
No.
like, forming that identity can be like,
Yes.
it can be less, it can be scary, but when you do come out authentically, it can be less scary than you think often.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually like to say this, like, this is how your brain works, and this is how honestly the world works, is the algorithm. That's how it's just like a social media algorithm. You change your algorithm and you start putting out into the algorithm, literally your brain's bias. This is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. This is how I want to connect. And suddenly you see where those opportunities to connect are. And it's just funny, because we know how that works now with the social media algorithms, and it's just such an easy way to remember that that's happening all around us. So, okay, I'm not seeing too many questions. Do you see any in?
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions over here.
Yeah, there was an earlier question. I'm wondering if we answered. There was 2 questions earlier. I feel like one person said, "What would you do if I just left church and I want to rebuild community?" And that was pretty much this entire live. So if you asked that question and you jumped off already, hopefully you can check out the replay. This will be up on, I post it to Instagram. We post clips, all kinds of clips. And then we also put it on Substack, and I put it on YouTube. So it'll be like everywhere.
Yeah.
If you want to watch it later.
Yeah. For those of you who are interested in the Substack, mine's at Quips and Confessionals. I also put it in a YouTube channel. Allison has hers.
Yes.
Do you want to say the title of your YouTube channel?
Yeah, well, it's really just under real Allison Rose, just like all of my social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube is all under real_Allison_Rose. I also have a podcast called the Recovering Radical Podcast. That's on YouTube as well. And this just goes into a separate playlist on my general channel for the lives. But you can find me probably most active on Instagram. I do respond to DMs. I do respond to comments. I pretty much read everything. So definitely reach out there. And I am a deconstruction coach. So I help people rebuild that sense of trust, rebuild their sense of community, start making decisions you want to make without feeling that impending doom that hits even people who deconstruct into atheism. They still have that sense that they're going to be punished. And they're like, why is this happening? I work with them, and I work with it on a somatic level. I teach nervous system tools. That's a little bit about me. What about you, Kate?
Yeah, so I am at Kate Johnson Writes on mainly Instagram. I'm also on Threads, a little bit on TikTok. And I have a Substack a Substack called Quips and Confessionals. So it's basically essays about a lot of what we talked about here, a lot about recovering church kids stuff, like purity culture, like all sorts of like recovering from that. I'm going to be like creating a theology of the rotisserie chicken soon. So there's also like a humor aspect of that too, where I throw in like a lot of like evangelical like nostalgia type stuff, like some satire, some humor pieces, because I think we all learn and we all heal best when we combined like those things with some laughter as well.
Yep. Kate's Instagram is fantastically hilarious. There's so much good stuff on there.
A
There's
lot of
always
veggie
great
tales. So that's your jam. Come follow.
And there are great conversations. Again, if you're looking for community, just the conversations that get generated in both of our comment sections are pretty fantastic. And I do see people making buddies on there sometimes. So just like check it out, DM people, see what happens. Like it's so fun to make those connections. So
and
anything else? Go ahead.
If anyone is interested in joining my book/craft club, feel free to DM after this and I will send you the link. It is free. We meet once a month. It's very low commitment. A great way to meet people.
Awesome. Okay. So to wrap this up, I want to hear like one just encouragement from both of us for people who are deconstructing and they're right in the middle of it and they're like, where's community? What's one encouraging thing you want to say to them?
I think as always, you're never alone. There's always people out there who have gone through things, and there's always tons of outlets for community out there as well. So listen to little you, write down what little you wants, like, and choose one of those things to start.
That's beautiful. And I would say, you're never alone. I would also say you are exactly where you need to be. And there are a whole lot of things that you don't know that are going to happen in the very near future, but they are going to happen. Like you don't have to make a bunch of stuff happen. You don't have to push forward. You've got this. We both believe in you. And just keep listening. Keep listening to stories of people who have rebuilt community and what they're doing now. Also, someone actually did post a question. I do want to answer it because we did open it up for that. Any advice on going no contact and building new community when you feel most people are not safe? There's a couple parts to that. I would say the people, I'm wondering if you're talking about like the people that you are going no contact with, like maybe you are leaving a really toxic, high control community. When I hear feeling like most people are not safe, I think of nervous system regulation. That's my first thought, is there's probably some nervous system dysregulation. But I always say this, you can never regulate past abuse. You can only regulate past false flags. So the point of regulation is never to like go get back into relationships that are harming you or dangerous situations. And you should go no contact with people who are actively harming and abusing you. But nervous system regulation can be a great tool for moving forward if you're struggling to make new connections because you have so much memories and evidence of harmful behavior in your past. That could be a great tool. So that's what I would say.
And if they're interested, I'd say the first step of that is to get to a place where you can be safe and grounded. And when you are in contact often with a person or a group that it is abusive, like your nervous system does not feel safe enough to rest and let go and grieve. So that's often the first step, is making that, and then the grieving process can start. And then you can work on building those boundaries, right? And it's often helpful to like write those down. But again, no one is alone. Like there are resources out there. There's therapists out there who are great guidances through that. But that has been my personal experience.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining us both on Instagram Live and on Substack. We're so happy to have you guys. And I think Kate and I are pretty settled on doing these some semi-regularly. Like they're just so fun. And we love getting to share with you guys and also hear what you are going through. So feel free to find us, email us, DM us, any ideas you have, if you have topics for us next time, if you have podcast guests you'd love to hear either of us talking to, or just any kind of idea or question, feel free to reach out. We're both very accessible, I would say.
Oh, wait. We should plug next week.
Oh, yes. I don't know the date, though. You tell me.
Next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, Jacob Gooden of the Ex-Homeschoolers podcast is coming on with us. His podcast is great. And we're going to be talking about the male perspective of purity culture for anyone who's interested in joining.
Yes, that should be really, really incredible, because the female perspective usually gets more airtime, I think, in the deconstruction space. So I think it'll be really helpful and healthy to have the male perspective. So see you soon, Jacob, because I know you're on here. We're going to have fun trauma bonding. That's what he says. Yep, probably.
Love it.
Awesome. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to log off. We'll see you next week.
Hey, bye.